think so. Yeah, there she is. And thank you for coming along. It's a shame we can't get Sarah today, but obviously there's quite a bit of illness around, and please give her our best when you see her next. But Sarah is our village agent, but before Sarah was our village agent, you were our village agent.
I was.
For
6 years.
For 6 years. So I'm going to ask you first a little bit about yourself, about your background, and then what that particular job was, village agent, and then we're going to have a little chat about what you're doing now.
Okay.
So what's your background, where are you from, and what have you been doing with yourself for the last couple of years?
Yes, birthday next week, 55, so yeah, it's a long time. So I nursed for 27 years prior to becoming a village agent. So I did my general nursing many moons ago, and then I specialised in maxillofacial surgery. So I worked in theatres, and then I worked in community settings delivering a sedation service to special care adults and children. So people that had complex medical needs and mental health issues, learning difficulties. So that was really interesting. Absolutely loved it. And then one day somebody said, "Oh, sorry, but your job doesn't actually exist anymore." So I left the NHS after many years and discovered an advert for village agent with the West of England Rural Network, or WERN as they're known. And yeah, it just sort of came along at the right time really, because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And yes, Cleeve was one of my villages, along with Rinkton, Redhill, Churchill, Langford, Brockley, Chalvey. I also covered over in Baines for a short while, all on 10 hours a week. Yes, so
you make yourself coming back sometimes.
So that was what I got paid for. Obviously, I did do a lot more hours, but yeah, lovely job, just working in the community, helping people one-to-one with all their issues that they may have, and that could be mental health issues, financial, social isolation and loneliness was a big one. So yeah, really interested in varied roles.
So I can tell by your accent that you're a local lass.
I am Australian, yes.
So you're in your home area, as it were, and have been brought up here and know the folks and
yes,
and the West Country well.
I have, yes. Yeah. I haven't always lived in this area. I lived up on the northeast coast of Scotland for a while in a place called Buckie. So that was extremely rural, in a croft. I lived in Bath when I was nursing there, and I also lived in Evesham up in Worcestershire. So yes, so I have
You're back home now.
Yeah, back home now.
You described the years with the NHS, a long time, over 2 decades with the NHS in nursing. Did you find that nursing experience then translated into your village agent work, and in what way might that training experience have helped you with the challenges of being a village agent? Absolutely.
So, transferable skills with people especially, but also having that background of medical knowledge was really useful when it came to sort of working with people that may have complex medical needs and medications and things like that. So it was just really useful thing to have in my hat really. So yeah.
And this is what you've just described is really it's people-centred, it's community. I know that's a passion, a love of yours, and your current job is what? Tell us about your current job.
So my current job, I'm still employed by West of England Rural Network, which is great because they're an amazing employer. They have great ethos and do a lot of good work in the rural communities. So I'm now Community Development Officer for WERN, and I cover Woodspring. So that's basically the whole of North Somerset apart from West of Wirral. So it's a project, a 3-year project that's funded by St Monica Trust. and its focus is on older people, and I say older people, so 50 plus really, so that includes myself, to engage with their communities, but in an asset-based community development way. So it's not the traditional community development per se, it's about communities in the lead. It's empowering people to make that progress in the communities and not have sort of the powers that be telling communities what to do. So I feel really passionate about that.
So this is a grassroots.
It absolutely is.
A lot of the time the term is used is organic.
Yes.
It might be a little bit misshapen, but it's a lot better for you.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank
it's
you
more
for that.
sustainable.
More sustainable, which leads us nicely on to gardening.
Yes.
Are you a gardener?
I do have an allotment. I should have to say it has been slightly neglected this year. But yes, I've had it for about 5-6 years now. It's hard work. Yeah.
But you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was great in the pandemic.
Yeah.
But now, obviously, with working more hours and things, it has been a little bit neglected. So.
I think what lockdown and the pandemic showed was that those who are blessed with gardens have got that outlet for when other opportunities for getting out and about were closed down or restricted. Building up your garden and making it a beautiful place was very therapeutic. Do you see community gardening as therapeutic in that way?
Absolutely, I think it's just a wonderful thing to bring people together, to grow things, to share, to pass on knowledge and skills. I just think it's an amazing thing.
I know that from previous conversations you're involved in a community garden in quite a different location to the one here on the Bourneville estate in Weston. Is that correct?
Yes, so that's not my patch, no. But my colleague who does cover that patch invited me down to the Bourneville estate, and I'd worked on the Bourneville estate before nursing, and I was just absolutely amazed at the community spirit there. It was just absolutely amazing. And what they've done down there in that community garden, it's more than a community garden. They've got a big fire pit, they've got chickens, they've got all sorts going on down there. They've got a wood fire pizza oven. It's just a real community. It's a community. That is the only way I can describe it. And everybody is just wonderful down there. They're happy, they're enjoying what they're doing, they're sharing their produce, they're looking after, taking it in turns to look after things, and it's thriving down there.
Richard and David, are you listening carefully to this? Pizza oven? Yes. It's on the shopping list. That sounds wonderful. A very different environment here from the one you just described on the Bourneville estate, one of our Magnificat parishes in the Diocese of Bath and Wells, because of the social deprivation and poverty that's around. We don't have anything like that kind of environment here. The community garden on Blunt Street, next door to the old environment centre, the old school. Beautiful setting, woodland walks, peaceful nature all around village setting. How do you think this garden would and will benefit this community? How do you see it developing? What's your vision for Goblin Coombe Community Garden?
So my vision is that the community have their own vision and take it forwards. I think that's very important from my community role, is that it doesn't get taken over, and that the community are able to make it what they want, and that there are people there for guidance and that type of thing. But for it to be a real community asset, I think it has to be community-led.
Thank you. Excellent. We've got next weekend COP26. The news is going to be dominated with that. If it hasn't become dominated already, it's still sort of hovering there next to all the latest COVID figures, but next week. It'll surpass, I'm sure, Rishi Sunak's budget delivery. I think COP26 will just be the main news focus. And in that summit, the world leaders and business leaders are going to be talking about care for the environment and how we might need to change the way we produce food, the way we think about our sustainability in the world. Have you got particular concerns about what might come from that summit in terms of how it impacts local communities here in North Somerset? Have you got any hopes or fears that you might like to share with us for the future?
These are my personal views, obviously.
Yeah.
It's going to be very interesting to see what comes out of it. But I think from a community view and a personal view, I try and do my bit. And I think if we can all do that, then hopefully that will make a bigger difference. I think a lot of people will potentially wait until they're told with regards to government and sort of policies and procedures and things. And we can only do what we feel is right for us, but I think it's looking at the bigger picture and looking at our children, grandchildren, and what the world is going to be like in the future. Personally, I've been really empowered by my daughter. She's 23 and she's a vegan and has very strong views on climate change and things like that, and she's really educated me. And so I've made some small changes. I haven't eaten meat for 3 years, and trying to do my little bit.
So those small changes to our own individual lives add up to can add up to bigger changes within society and within community. That's something very much fitting with your development, first in the health service, then as a village agent, now as a community development officer. This people-centred approach to the way we live our lives, our lifestyles, and the way perhaps now those are needing to change. So the strength of making small changes and in a community setting.
Got to start somewhere.
Yeah. Thank you for that. That's excellent. A couple of quick questions and then we'll have the film.
Okay.
So, we're reminded in the Bible, the Bible starts with a garden, the story of creation. And there's a verse on the menu that's set for today from that Genesis creation story about the garden. It also finishes with a garden. The book of Revelation, the very last book of the Bible, ends with a garden in a city. So there's a garden at the start and a garden at the end, the very close of our scriptures. That garden, the garden at the start is Paradise Garden, Eden. The garden at the end is a heavenly garden. It's the garden in the heavenly city. Tina, what is your idea of heaven?
Oh gosh. Put me on the spot.
I have.
My personal heaven, I think, is to be happy, to be loved, to be surrounded by friends and family, and to have your health.
That's brilliant. I think we'll leave it there. I'm sure Tina is very happy to chat to folks if we do end up having a walk up the hill to the garden, and we do thank you very much for your work and continue it, please do. Thank you very much. Tina Huckle-Mills. I think Tina's brought some information about the garden, some like a pack. Did you want to tell us?
No, I thought we better.
Oh, we're going. Okay.
Yeah, talk about that first. Yeah.
So we're now going to have the film, so you can see exactly what it is that we've been talking about.